Okay. Firstly, our head of the LLM program, Professor Matsuo, will have an opening speech. Go ahead, Matsuo-sensei.
Thank you, Sasan. Good evening and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to information session for the admission to Keio Law School LL.M program. My name is Hiroshi Matsuo. I'm Vice Dean of Keio Law School and Director of the LL.M program. Keio University was established in 1858 as the first private university in Japan. Keio Law School was launched in 2004 as a part of justice system reform in Japan. And now it has two programs. One is JD program for students who are preparing for taking Japanese bar examination. And another is our LL.M program for global legal practice, for which you may apply. LL.M program started in April 2017 as the first Japanese law school LL.M program in which all the courses are taught in English. So far, more than 160 students from all over the world graduated and are working worldwide. Now, in this semester, around 50 LL.M students study here, MITA in Tokyo. Students can enjoy exchanging their own ideas and views and thoughts with colleagues from different countries with diversified cultures. They can also make communications with Japanese students who belong to JD program. This research environment is very important because the central purpose of our program is to foster global legal professions who can find solutions to difficult issues from a broad perspective. We hope that you will deepen your understanding of our program and apply for the coming admission. Thank you very much again for your participation and enjoy today's session. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Matsuo. Next, Professor Monroe Sheridan, who is the member of LL.M admission committee, will explain about admission for LL.M program. Please go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining the information session today. So I'll give an overview of our admissions program and how it works, but all this information and much more detail is available on the website and in the materials provided there. So if you want to check anything, or if you want to refresh your memory on what was discussed today, then I strongly recommend you take a look at the website, which has a handy chart with deadlines and also has a PDF, the PDFs that include all the detailed information in our application guidebook. So the basic overview is that we have two matriculation periods each year. There's one in April and one in September. We have two application periods as well. And one application period is in May, the other is in October or November. However, some documents are due earlier than the main application period. So you need to be careful about that if you are going to make use of the exemptions, for example, or the request for confirmation of your eligibility to apply to the program. So what that means basically is that you'll need to take a look at the website, although I will summarize it here. By the way, each application period can work for either matriculation period. So you can apply in October for admission in April or September, and you can apply in May for admission in April or September. There's no difference. We also try to maintain equality, roughly equal standards from period to period. So as a result, we try to avoid having one period be easier than the other. So if you have a question about, for example, is it easier, should I apply in the first period or the second period of the year? The answer is that neither period is treated more favorably than the other. Okay, so what do you need to apply? There is a personal statement. There's two components. There is a statement of your reasons for applying to the program and how it fits into your career. There's also an analysis of the legal problem or question. We need your academic transcripts, your certificate of graduation, resume, letters of recommendation from one or two advisor, like academic advisors or professors or an employer, if you're already working, there are more specific details about what we request with respect to the letters of recommendation in the application guidebook that is available on the website. We also require proof of English proficiency. Applicants who are native English speakers are exempt from the English proficiency requirement. And other applicants who have sufficient English ability can also apply for an exemption. So that's something that you may want to do if, for example, you have received all of your education in English, even if you're not, technically a native speaker. We encourage, for all other applicants, we encourage you to take the TOEFL or the IELTS test, but we also accept the TOEIC, for example, and there's no hard cutoff for scores. So we just evaluate your English proficiency as part of your overall application. So you don't have to worry about, any specific score being like an automatic rejection from the program. Okay. Most of the documents for you to submit can be submitted online. Some originals have to be mailed, like, for example, your academic transcripts and certificates of graduation. But those can be sent later in the process, so they don't need to hold up your admissions application. There are also a few other required documents, so you can see that in the application guidebook, but those are the big things for you to consider. Two things to keep in mind. I've kind of mentioned this a little bit just now, but the application to apply for an exemption from the English proficiency requirement has an earlier deadline from the main application. So if you don't plan to take an English proficiency test and submit that with your score, and you plan to apply for the exemption, you want to make sure you don't miss the deadline to apply for the exemption. Generally speaking, those deadlines will be, it's mid-April, I think. Yes, it'll be mid-April to apply for the English proficiency exemption for this application intake, and then it'll be mid-September to apply in the next application period this year. Similarly, if you are applying but you're not sure if you are eligible to apply for the program, you can first apply for certification of your eligibility to apply, and then you don't have to prepare a whole application only to find that you were not eligible later, right? You can find out before you prepare your application, confirm that you're eligible to apply. The deadline for that is also mid-April. So it'll be starting April 15th and ending April 19th, Japan time. And then in the next application period this year, the deadline for that will be in late September. So keep an eye on that. If you don't fit the traditional or the explicit requirements for the program in terms of having a Bachelor of Law or being qualified to practice law, that sort of thing, then be sure that you don't miss the deadline to apply for your certification of eligibility. Okay. We do sometimes get questions about who's eligible. The general idea is that, so you have to have an undergraduate degree. You must also have equivalent, your degree has to be in law, or you must have a Juris Doctor degree. So your bachelor's degree has to be in law, or you must have a Juris Doctor degree, or you must have equivalent knowledge of law. So if you've been working in the legal department of a company for several years, you may have equivalent knowledge. We cannot answer questions about, oh, I've been working at such and such company for so many years. Can I apply? You have to actually go through the certification for eligibility process, but it's a relatively simple process. If you are, if you have any question about your eligibility, then I definitely would encourage you to apply for that, the certification of eligibility. We make those determinations on a case-by-case basis, so there's no specific rule as to exactly what is enough legal knowledge or legal experience. Okay. Yeah, and finally, we accept applications from students all over the world, and we've taken students from North and South America, from Europe, Africa, Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, and of course from Japan, Korea, China. There are neighboring countries. So yeah, we really encourage people of all diverse geographies to apply to the program. Okay, I think that covers the basic summary, and I will wrap it up there. We will, I believe, have time for Q&A later because we do sometimes get questions about the application process. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lee Sensei. Next, Professor Lit, who is the head of LLM Academic Affairs Committee, will explain about the curriculum for the LLM program. Please go ahead.
Participate. I'd like to talk a little bit about what happens after you're admitted and start to study at Keio. I think all of you can access, if you can access Zoom, then you can certainly access our Keio University Law School website. And if you go and look at the LLM subsite on the LLM program, then you can see we have a course list and catalog for this year, which lists all of our classes that give credit toward the LLM within Keio. It's also, in some cases, possible for students to get to bring some credits with them and apply to get those counted toward the LLM program. And also possible to go on exchange to some of our partner schools and get additional credits. But basically, your focus should be within those courses. A third way you could get credits is you can take up to, I think, a couple courses in the regular JD program at Keio. All of the JD program courses, other than the ones that are also in the LLM program, of course, are taught in Japanese language. So if you, and this requires a separate permission of the program to do, but some students have applied and have taken some courses in the JD program and counted them toward the LLM. As you can see, if you do look at that curriculum list, we have a very broad program. As Reed mentioned, we have students coming from many different places to study in our program. And that's one reason that it's not, we can't look at one standard when people apply. We have to assess people based upon the educational system that they're coming out of and the experience. Different systems have different processes for qualifying to practice law, different legal education systems. So that's one reason for the complexity of the application process. That's one of the great benefits you get once you get into the classroom, is hopefully you'll have a chance to study with people who come from very different backgrounds and legal systems than you, and you'll be able to learn from each other. Now, we have within the program, you can see a number of different categories of classes. And you'll get a sense, you really have to look down the whole list to see what is offered. Another way to think about the categories is that since we set up the program in 2017, we have added a number of specialization certificates. The certificates are 5. If you come to the Keio LLM, which is called an LLM in Global Legal Practice, then you can also apply to get a certificate in business law or intellectual property law or international dispute resolution, or Japanese law, and finally, law and development in Asia. Those are the 5 potential specialization categories. Now, each of the certificates has slightly different requirements, but by and large, the certificates require that you get at least 10 of your 30 credits in courses in the specific subject area that you want to specialize in. Some of the certificates require that you have also a practical training class that's relevant to that specific area. If it was international dispute resolution, then you might want to do moot court, or you might want to take a mediation practice class, something like that, for example. If it was business law, you might want to take a drafting class or a negotiation class, for example. And then also, each of the certificates requires that you write an independent research paper that is on a topic of your selection, but a topic that is in the specific area of your specialization. So I think in recent semesters, we've had maybe typically 3 or at most 4 out of 10 of our students have decided to get a specialization certificate. So that's something we've added that has, I think, been helpful in getting some students first to think about where they want to focus their studies a bit more. And also, hopefully, if they get the certificate, then after they finish the LLM, when somebody asks them what they did, if they say, well, I studied global legal practice, maybe that takes a little bit more explanation. I was focused on comparative law, or I was very focused on Japanese law. And if you have the certificate, then that allows a third party, future employer, somebody who you want to explain what your specialization is, to understand where you focus your studies. So we think that has been helpful if we thought about doing what some schools have done. We partner with the University of Washington, for example, and they have, I think, 5 or 6 different LLM degrees. You can get an LLM degree there in taxation or in intellectual property. The way the Japanese regulatory system is, the way the universities are regulated, if we were to set up a separate degree program in intellectual property or in business law, that would be extremely cumbersome for the university. For us, we couldn't support it. And so the certificate system is a way for us to try and get our students the benefit of specialization without that degree of burden on the university and expense. So that's the way we've set it up. In terms of classes and the way your week would go if you were to join our LLM program, we have courses typically on 6 days a week, but it's very easy for you to select your courses so that you would focus and, try to, in each semester, limit your courses to, mornings, early mornings or evenings, or during the day on a few days. We have a few courses that every year are offered on Saturday. Typically, government officials have not been able to get permission from their employer, from their ministry or administrative body to teach during the week. So we have a few government officials who've always taught on Saturday. We had an antitrust official in the Japan Fair Trade Commission who always used to teach on Saturday. He moved to a law firm, and now his class is no longer on Saturday because so we have a few that are on Saturday. We do try to accommodate students who want to work while they are studying at Keio. And we do that in shifting some of the classes so that they start after 6 p.m. We have classes in the 6th period that start at 6:10 p.m. and some that have been shifted back to start at 6:30 p.m., a number of them, so that if you are working in Tokyo and you need to leave your office and get to class at 6:30, hopefully that you can manage to do with some minor accommodations instead of a major accommodation. We also have some of our classes at the beginning of the day. I always teach at least 1 or 2 classes where I will, instead of starting at 9 a.m. and going to 10:30, I will shift back so it starts at 8:30 and goes until 10 a.m. That makes it a little bit easier for students to get to their office, and still have a significant portion of the morning. Some depends on your employer, obviously, whether they have sort of flexible start times or whether they can accommodate that. But we do want to encourage students to consider attending the program while they are, on a part-time basis while they're working. I think a sizable majority of the students are full-time students the first year. A number of students will check a box and submit an application during their 2nd semester to continue on a part-time basis, and will, at a reduced tuition, will continue to be in the program the 2nd year. People do that for all sorts of different reasons. Some again, want to work while they're studying, find it difficult to accumulate the 30 credits during their first year. But many do it because they want to extend their time in the program. They would like to stay in Tokyo and work. They want to work on their Japanese language while they're studying. They want to conduct a job search. Or we've had a number of students who have made sure that they don't get their 30 credits in the 2nd semester and have applied to go on an exchange and have attended one of our partner schools in a 3rd semester. UCLA, Georgetown, University of Washington, a number of partner schools in Asia as well, and also in Europe. So that's something, if you're trying to get a real global background and you have the time to do it, it can be a very cost-efficient way to study in both Japan and at one of Keio's partner schools. I think I should probably stop now. I've said a lot and been going on, and should turn the program back over to the law school office, and I'm available to answer any questions you have at the end of the program. Thank you.